Hi everyone, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to be here. This is Midnight Chats with me, Melina. Like I said, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to be doing this. I definitely feel like, especially with this first episode, that I have been through a lot, and I never had really a safe space or anywhere to really just unleash everything that I was feeling or thinking, and I really just wanted somewhere to kind of just let it all out, lay it out for everyone. And yeah, so first thing that I kind of want to go ahead and start with is one thing that I'm grateful for today and one thing that I could have done better today. So for the one thing that I am grateful for is my son. That little boy is my entire heart and soul, and I would do anything and everything for him. So he is definitely something that I'm very grateful for. And one thing that I definitely could have done better today is just to be more understanding of the fact that not everybody is the same. I have a really hard time with that, honestly, of not really realizing that other people have different mindsets and different ways that they view life than what I do. So sometimes it's really challenging for me to kind of not put my blinders on and be like, well, this is how I think it is, and this was how, I was raised, and this is how I see the world, and that's the only way to see it. So sometimes it takes me a little bit to kind of comprehend that other people were raised differently. People have different values, morals, different ways that they see the world. So yeah, but that's definitely one thing that I could have done better today. But before we hop into this episode, I want to go ahead and have a disclaimer. I am not a therapist by any means. I am literally just someone who needs a space to talk about life and the challenges and tribulations that you face, especially in my 20s, and being a first-time mom and a young mom at that. There's just a lot that goes into that, as well as what today's episode is going to be about. I want to go ahead and also put in there kind of a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about the loss of a parent. So if that is something that is triggering to you, I would not continue to listen. But if it is something that you are also healing from, or something that you kind of want to deep dive into with someone who has actually experienced something like that, you can obviously just go ahead and keep listening. So, first, obviously, I want to start off with what happened. So, one night, my father, my mother, and my brother and I had gone to, my brother's soccer game, and we had left the soccer game I literally was getting a new phone, so we stopped at the phone store, got my phone, came home, and everything was all fine and dandy. There was nothing abnormal going on. And then we got home, and I had said good night to my dad and my mom because they were both going to sleep. And I came into my room. Mind you, at the time, I am 17 and my brother is 15. So, we went to bed, and next thing I know, my brother is coming into my bedroom, and he's waking me up, and he's saying, Melina, you need to get up. Mom called an ambulance for Dad, like, you need to get up, he's going to the hospital. And in that time when he woke me up the first time, I literally thought I was dreaming. Like, I did not think that that was actually happening. So I went back to sleep. I was like, okay, and just because I was not awake when he told me. So I don't know how much time has gone by, but all I know is my brother comes back in my room and he's standing over me on my bed and he is like, Melina, you need to get up, we need to go. Like, our dad is literally getting in an ambulance and he's going to the hospital. So I get up, panic is running through me. I go into my parents' bedroom and my mom is sitting on the bed with my dad's head in her lap and she is in shambles, as one would be. So she's in shambles. I am looking at her, looking at my brother, and I'm looking at the paramedic who is currently putting like a IV in my dad's hand. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, is he okay? Like, what are we doing? And I'm sitting on the bed, and I'm looking at my dad, and I'm asking my dad, like, are you okay? Are you okay? ¿Estás bien? Like, what is going on? And at that point in time, like, he could answer me, and he was like, no, like, my head hurts, like, they're gonna take me, and it's gonna be okay. And I said, okay. So eventually the ambulance comes in, the paramedics come in with the stretcher, and they put him on the stretcher, they put him in the back of the ambulance, and away we go. We're following the ambulance to the hospital here in town, and as we are behind this ambulance and we get there and we run in through the emergency room, we're like, okay, like, we need to know where so-and-so is, where they take him, what's his room number, like. And so they get him in a room, and he's not in that room for very long. He, because obviously once they found out that it was a brain bleed, they automatically were like, okay, we need to send him to the bigger hospital downtown, and he needs to go there to get surgery. So while all of this information is getting relayed to my mother, I am on the phone with my grandmother and my godmother. My godmother is my dad's oldest sister, and then my grandmother is actually my dad's second oldest sister. And so I called both of them and I was like, hey, like, this is what's going on. We're going to the hospital downtown. You guys can meet us there, whatever, you know. And so then obviously we drove to the hospital in the downtown area, and he went in for his brain surgery. Now, at the time, we kind of knew. I mean, they basically just call it a brain bleed, but we didn't really understand the full-fledged of it. But he had an aneurysm of the brain, and so obviously with that, basically, like, one of his major veins in the lower part of his head had burst, and he obviously had a lot of bleeding in the head. And so with that surgery, because of the swelling of the brain, they had to actually remove I think it was the either top left or top right part of his skull in order to allow the brain to be pretty much swell, give it room to swell, so that eventually, while it's healing, the swelling will come down. So my father was actually in the ICU for, I want to say, about 2 months. This happened in January of 2019, and in end of February of 2019, he then started getting transferred to rehab facilities to go ahead and help with, obviously, the effects of the aneurysm. It really wasn't until the second to last It wasn't until the second to last rehab facility that they had informed us that he was left blind, that he was paralyzed on his left side, and that he was going to have to be on a PICC line, which is a feeding tube, for the rest of his life, and that he was also going to need assistance for the rest of his life. So we collectively as a family, after having all of that information relayed to us, he got transferred to one last care facility. And mind you, at this time, my mom, she is thankfully her work gave her, all the time off that she needed to go ahead and handle this family matter. And me and my brother were actually still going to school. I was in my senior year of high school, so I still had my entire second semester of my senior year of high school to go through. And then obviously my brother was a sophomore in high school. And so I was actually, driving us back and forth from home to school, from school to the hospital, and then back home. And that's kind of what our life looked like for 2 months while my father was in the ICU. And then obviously when he got transferred to this last rehab facility, my mom was able to come home because it was in a town that was like 10-15 minutes away. So she was able to come home, so she was able to obviously, stay with us and take care of us and, still be there for my father. But yeah, so during this last rehab facility was when we collectively as a family made the decision to do hospice for my father. Now, the reasoning why we decided to do hospice for my father was because of, not only had he prior in other rehab facilities, like he had been pulling his PICC line out, he had been trying to climb out of the bed, like it had been a while that we thought that he was genuinely going to do something to hurt himself, because he did not want to be that way, and we all knew that. So, and the day that really sealed the deal for me of that we cannot keep doing this to him anymore was the day that I had gone in there and I was by myself. My mom was in the waiting area with my brother, and I had gone in there by myself, and I sat there and I was talking to my dad, and he goes and he grabs my hand and he turns his head towards me. Mind you, he's blind, so he, I think, just turned in my direction just to be facing me. And my father looked at me and he said, "No más," which, if you don't speak Spanish, no más means no more. And in that moment, I knew it was my father asking me for it all to be over. And that was probably one of the hardest moments in my life, because I know that there is absolutely not a damn thing on this earth that would ever make my father not want to be here with us. If there's one thing about my father that I can say, it is that he loved me and my brother more than anything else in this world. And he would lay himself down 1,000 times if that's what it took to say it for me and my brother, if that's what it took. And so for him to look in my direction, hold my hand, and tell me that he doesn't want to do this anymore, he doesn't want to be here anymore, like I said, that genuinely just like sealed the deal for me. Like I was like, okay, like I literally walked out of that room, I looked at my mom and I was like, we're done. We need to be done with this. I'm like, he just looked at me and he said no more. He doesn't want to do this anymore. We're done. So then that was when my family and I went through the process of hospice. And thankfully that was a pretty simple process. You know, they just try and keep your loved one comfortable. You call all of your loved ones. Everyone can spend as much time with them as they want until, you know, they take their last breath pretty much. I will say that is definitely a sound that has stuck with me. Is like, I laid next to my father and I had my head on his chest and just hearing, you know, his heart just like slow down and then get slower and slower until it eventually wasn't there anymore. That definitely was, it was hard. It was hard. But yeah, that's kind of primarily, I guess, just like a good summary of what happened. But what I want to talk about, I guess, obviously what I was feeling. In the beginning, I didn't really feel anything, but like when my dad was here before the ambulance took him away, I didn't really have the feeling of anything in the moment. It was more or less pure shock. So my adrenaline kind of took over and I kind of realized that, you know, my mom was in shambles and my brother wasn't in shambles, but obviously he wasn't old enough to drive. So one of us obviously had to drive all three of us to the hospital. So I kind of had to keep it together. But once we made it to the local hospital and they told us that they were transporting him, and I called my godmother and my grandma, I just lost it. In that moment, I broke down and I don't think I could ever really truly explain to you all of the thoughts and the feelings that were going through my head and even just my body. Like, it literally felt like somebody grabbed my heart and ripped it out of my chest and then just stomped on it. And just, yeah, I mean, quite honestly, there's really no words. I mean, I had lived almost 18 years with two parents and two very loving parents in a very, I would say, very healthy household, and to go from these very, I wouldn't say shielded, but just very cared for children to all of a sudden like, oh shit, like our dad is gone, like, you know, like we need to take care of mom now, like she needs to be taken care of, we need to make sure she's okay. And yeah, I just, and also, I can't, like I said, I didn't really get to feel too much with having to go to high school and graduate. Like, it genuinely took me a long time to kind of really process what was going on, and because I was still going to school every day. I only missed 2 days of school my senior year. And the 2 days that I missed were the 2 days after my dad had passed away. And I definitely think I, like, collectively held myself together pretty well, just because of the pure fact that, like, nobody at my school knew that I was going through that. I remember I did a TED Talk it was for my senior English class, and I remember I did a TED Talk on why you should tell people that you love them, and more often than you think. And my closing statement literally was a picture of my family at our New Year's Eve party that we do every year at my uncle's house. And it was, starting from left to right, it was my brother, my dad, my mom, and me. And it was a picture of all four of us. And I looked everybody in the eyes in that class and told them, please, if you love someone, please don't forget to tell them. Tell them in the morning, tell them at night, tell them randomly throughout the day that you love them. Because that picture is the last family picture that I have. And I will always, always, always thank God and whoever else that the last thing I said to my father before he went to bed that night was, I love you. And that really gives me a weird sense of peace, that genuinely was the last thing that I said to my father while he was conscious. And I feel like a lot of people, like I said, you get upset with people and you get angry at family and you don't say I love you. Genuinely, what I've learned from this entire experience is that you're not promised tomorrow. That's one thing that I've learned, is you are not promised tomorrow by any means whatsoever. But that also means that your brother is not promised tomorrow, your mother's not promised tomorrow, your niece, your nephew, your cousins, your, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, like, nobody is promised tomorrow. So tell them that you love them. Like, it's 3 words. 3 words. It takes you 2 seconds, if that. I love you. And if, like I said, heaven forbid, something happens, it definitely makes it a lot easier. But kind of banking off of how that obviously has changed my outlook on life, I definitely learned, like I said, to say I love you. That the small arguments and the petty shit that you want to argue about, it really doesn't matter. It genuinely does not matter. In the end, if you're not still gonna be upset about it in 10 minutes, fucking get over it. Get over it. It's fine. Move on. Like, there's so many people, and I understand that some things are just unforgivable, right? Like, I understand that some things are just unforgivable. It's just, there's a line, and it definitely shouldn't be crossed, but there are definitely petty freaking things that I know that people don't forgive other people for, and it's like, and again, this is just a mindset thing that I was raised with, but your family is your family, gosh darn it. Like, get over it. They could be in the freaking grave. You could be attending their funeral in a week, and you're still upset about the time they said something about you and they were mad, or blah 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 blah. Like, oh my gosh, it just drives me freaking insane when people are like that. Especially, like, it drove me insane beforehand because, like, I was always taught that, like, your family is your family no matter what, so just fucking get over it. But now it irritates me even more because it's like, I don't have my father anymore. Like, I would literally kill at the chance to even just have him get after me, even for me to just go and do something wrong just so he could be here to just yell at me. So I I also learned that I need to say yes to more things, because I am definitely sometimes a real big homebody, and I don't like to go out. I don't like to experience things. Okay, let me rewind. It's not that I don't like to experience things. I love to experience things. It's just finding the energy and the right people. Because for me personally, if the right people are not there, I will not be going. And I don't know. I'm not one to really like to make new friends or talk to new people, or that's just not my vibe. I'm not the one. But I do have to remind myself that life is too short. And that's another reason why I started this podcast, because life is too fucking short. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And thankfully I have a really, really supportive boyfriend that loves me very, very much, who was like, yeah, you should do it. If you want to do it, you should do it. So here we are. One thing also, another outlook change, is that therapy is fucking phenomenal. Okay? And I'm not saying that therapy is for everyone, right? Therapy is not for everyone. It really takes a specific person to go to therapy, take what you learned in therapy, and actually use it. Also, you have to find the right therapist. Like, you can't just be talking to no Joe Schmo on the side of the road, like, whatever it is. Like, you literally have to find, like, a legit therapist, okay? But me and my boyfriend had a point where we took a break, and it really, first of all, not only shocked me. We had been together for almost 4 years at that point, and he, stepped away and was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, okay, pump the brakes. Like, what is going on? So when he did that, I actually then started going to therapy, because I had realized that a lot of the things that had been going on and had been, just going wrong in our relationship there for a while, I learned was just a lot of untouched turmoil underneath. But yeah, I was definitely raised in a household where it was like, therapy, like, we don't do therapy. We don't talk to people about our problems. Like, what happens in the house stays in the house. Like, you don't go around telling people shit. Like, and so, which I still go by. Like, I don't tell, obviously, a bunch of people my business, but I mean, obviously I'm telling you guys, but this is a little different. This is a few years now. But yeah, I went to therapy, and I got some tools to kind of help with, dealing with the fact that my father is no longer here, with dealing with the fact that he won't be here, for big events. I mean, my son was born for this year, March of this year, and my father wasn't there. And when I get married, he won't be there to walk me down the aisle. When I buy my first house, he won't be there to help me move my things. When I move into my first apartment, he's not gonna be there to help me move my things. He's, I don't play soccer anymore, but, if I were to continue playing soccer, he's not, I'm not gonna have my coach on the sidelines whistling at me, yelling at me, telling me what to do. So, yeah, I just, like I said, learn to tell the people that you love them. Life's too fucking short to be pissed about the petty shit. Therapy is okay. It is okay to do therapy. If you personally feel like you need therapy, go do therapy. I know it's not easily accessible for everybody. But if you have the option and you feel like you need it, take it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're fucking crazy. Because, listen, if they want to see crazy, not going to therapy can cause you to go crazy. If you need therapy, take it. And one thing that my dad always lived by that I really learned after he passed away was the fact of living every day like it's your last day. My father lived his life with absolutely no regrets. Granted, in the long run, it ended up with him having a million health problems because he lived his life like there was no tomorrow, so, you know. But, really, when you think about it, again, you're not promised tomorrow, so it's like, if you want to do something, just fucking do it. You want to take that vacation, trust me, you will work again, and you will get that money back. It is not the end of the world. But I thought my child woke up for a second. But yeah, just do what you want, live your life. And I kind of want to walk you guys through grieving all of the first, because that's kind of a big question that I get a lot of the times when I, tell people that my father has been dead for 4 years. Is, how did you make it through? So he passed away on Easter of 2019. So obviously the first Easter without him, not great. Then obviously we get into May, which obviously Mother's Day is in May. So for my mom, it was getting through her first Mother's Day without my dad. In June is the first Father's Day without my dad. And that one was a lot. That one was because we used to always take a picture with my dad before Father's Day, and that picture my mom would take, and she would go to the store and she would get it printed onto a shirt for my dad. So not doing that felt really, really weird. But obviously, we didn't take a picture. My mom did take a picture of me with my dad's urn. She asked me if I wanted to, and I said, you know what? I will take a picture with my father's urn for you, Mom, because I know that she kind of needed that a little bit. So I took a picture with it for her specifically. But yeah, so then obviously after Father's Day, it was first 4th of July without him, and then July is also my parents' wedding anniversary, and my mother's birthday is also in July. So those were 2 hard ones. My brother's birthday's in August. September, there's not really too much, but then we get into October, and we throw an annual Halloween party at my house every single year since before I was born. My father and my mother have always thrown a Halloween party. Now, Halloween, I would say next to New Year's, is my dad's favorite holiday. And me and my mom were going back and forth about, are we even gonna do like a Halloween party? Like, what are we gonna do? Well, we ended up doing a Halloween party because I was like, you know what, my dad would have wanted us to do a Halloween party. He would want us to, bring the family together and, throw a party like we usually do. So we did, and we had a blast. We sang a bunch of songs because we always do karaoke. And we sang a bunch of songs that my dad loved. We danced to a ton of songs that my dad loved. And it was all in all a good experience. But I won't lie, those firsts, they can be rough. And they just hit you out of nowhere. It goes from, oh, I'm okay, you know, like, just kind of getting through the day, rocking through the motions, and then it goes, haha, just kidding, and it hits you like a truck, and then you're sobbing in your bathroom. The other thing that was really hard was, obviously I had graduated high school that year, and so my open house that summer, that was rough, because my mom, she had asked me to clean out our bathroom because we were going to have guests. Obviously, we had the open house in my front yard. And I remember moving some of, like, my dad's stuff into the drawer of the kitchen, or of the bathroom counter. And I don't know why, but seeing, like, his stuff and physically taking it from one part of the bathroom to the other and literally just putting it in the drawer made me fucking lose it. I lost it in that bathroom that day. I sobbed, I screamed, I cried, any emotion that I probably could have felt in that moment, I felt it. I took whatever it was that was in the drawer and I grabbed it and I chucked it at the mirror, and I just backed up into the bathroom door and just let my back slide down the door, and I'm on the floor and I'm just sobbing. I mean, and at that point my dad had been gone for 2 months. So that was a doozy, I will say so. But kind of touching on the therapy thing again, I kind of, not only did my boyfriend kind of leaving me really, like, kind of, like, click in my head, like, oh shit, like, there's, you know, there's deeper shit going on in here that I really need to get under control. But also I kind of realized I need therapy when a similar situation happened to somebody else's family member, and I remember I would sit in my car and just scream and just ask why, because that other person's family member ended up okay, which I am so thankful and so blessed that their family member is okay, because I would never ever want somebody to lose their family member. But in the moment, my dad had only been gone for not even 5 months, and I am sitting in my car screaming, why? Like, why my dad? Why take my dad and not, you know, this other person? Which sounds really shitty to say, but in the moment, like, that is what I felt. Like, it literally felt like my entire world was crumbling. And when I kind of took a step back and realized that I was almost wishing the same thing that was going on with me onto somebody else, that was another big red flag that I was like, yeah, you need to go to therapy, girl. You need to get this shit figured out. Like, that is not okay. So, yeah, that was definitely kind of a tough realization. But to kind of start to wrap things up, now that I've kind of chatted your ear off for the last almost 45 minutes, I really just want to say that I hope this episode finds the right people, and if you've ever experienced a type of loss in your life, my heart really does go out to you, and I'm here to tell you that the pain never goes away. And if anybody tells you that the pain goes away, they're lying to you. Because my dad has been gone for 4 years, and I tell you what, if I really sit here and think about it for a while, that shit will break me. But with the years, the intensity of it definitely doesn't hit you as often as what it used to. The intensity will subside, and one day you'll go from feeling like you're drowning every single day to every 6 months, or, you know, you'll have a random day on a Tuesday where you're just like, I can't fucking take it. But in that sense, it will get better. You won't cry every day. You'll find ways to cope, and you'll be able to get most of your life back. So just hang in there, you know. I'm not gonna say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but the tunnel definitely isn't pitch black. But now I just want to go ahead and share 3 food for thought journal prompts with you. This was something that really, really helped me during therapy to kind of really dig in and see what is going on up in here, you know. But you're more than welcome to go ahead and write them down and do them with me. I'm gonna write them down, but I'm not obviously going to show you guys my answers, but I'm definitely going to write them down, and then I'll post them on Instagram just in case you don't want to listen to this entire podcast to get to the 3 journal prompts and you just want the journal prompts. I'll post them on Instagram. So the first one is, what's one thing you'd like others to remember about you at the end of your life? So one thing I definitely want others to remember me for at the end of my life is the amount of love that I have given people. Like, I want every single person to know when I am on my deathbed that I truly, truly loved them to the capacity that I could love them. If you could hug one person, who would you hug? Obviously for me, the one person who I could hug, if I could hug, is my father. There are definitely times in my life where I still need a hug. I'm still a daddy's girl at heart, and there are definitely some days where his hug is much needed. And what is the most defining moment of your life thus far? I definitely would say, thus far, the most defining moment of my life is when I became a mother. Now, I know that has nothing to do with this episode, but when I became a mother, that was like sealed the deal. Like, that is who I am. I am a mother now, and yeah, that's how I live my life, and that's what's most important to me. But I just want to say, to end on a good note, because I know that this episode was heavy, like very heavy. My therapist always used to ask me at the end of every session, what 3 things I was always looking forward to the next week. And so I want to go ahead and ask you guys on YouTube, on Instagram, when I post the journal prompts, to go ahead and leave me 3 things that you guys are looking forward to in the upcoming week. And then the other thing that my therapist used to always do is she always used to leave me with a quote to kind of sit with and think about. And so for your guys' quote, I went ahead and picked, what we once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose. For all that we love deeply becomes part of us. And that is actually a quote from Helen Keller. So, again, just to wrap things up here, I really, really want to say thank you for tuning in and even bothering to listen to me. And I hope to see you all next week for another midnight chat. Take care, guys. YouTube. I'm out.